let's do this last clip of RFK Jr. He was speaking in front of or was asked to testify, we should say, on the House weaponization of the federal government committee hearing. We played what I think is the most damning clips up front on this program, where RFK, in the course of being questioned by Representative Thomas Massey, basically lays out these things as to why what he was spreading is not in misinformation, and basically implying that, like, it's misinformation to say that the vaccines worked, and for some reason we had far worse death rates and all that. We played that clip where the Twitter user, The Real Truther, debunks all of those things. And again, pass that clip around and go check out the Real Truther on Twitter. Here is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. claiming that it is also defamation to call him an anti-vaxxer, and that he never tells people not to get a vaccine. Will you play that clip, Bradley?
Yes, Congressman Massey, and if by your leave, I'd like to just respond briefly to some of the what I would call defamations that have been just applied to me by the ranking member. I'm happy to talk to you about my opinions on these issues. What you have stated and tried to associate me with through guilt by association is simply inaccurate. Virtually everything, every statement that you just made about me is inaccurate. I have never advised Black Americans not to receive vaccines. At one point you say I'm anti-vax, and that's a bad thing. The other moment you point out that all my children are vax. I'm fully compliant with the vaccine schedule myself, except for COVID. I took flu vaccines for 20 years straight. I have never been anti-vax. I have never told the public avoid vaccination. The only thing I've asked for.
Pause it. Okay. First off, I'm not familiar with the accusation about telling Black people not to get vaccines. We do know that there was problems. I think was it with Somali?
Somalia?
Was it? It was Samoa?
American Samoa, I believe. Yeah, I'm going to confirm.
Okay, just check with that. I'm sorry. I've got confused between, I think, like Wakefield. But there is a story out there about Kennedy's organization going, I think was it to Samoa?
Yep, Samoa.
And recommending that they don't take the MMR vaccine? Was it measles?
Measles, mumps, rubella.
And it was successful in convincing people not to take that. And there was, I think, dozens of deaths as a function of that with measles. I don't know. People can read into that, but put that aside.
Ars Technica piece, yeah.
And what he's referencing about Black Americans is a documentary that he made about Black Americans and vaccine hesitancy. And at one point he compares Black Americans taking vaccines to like the Tuskegee Airmen experiments.
Right. And it wasn't American Samoa, it was just Samoa.
And I also just want to point out that
I want to go to, I just want to, while this is fresh in mind, we can talk about it. He says that he has never publicly told people not to get vaccines, and that the claim that he did or has is defamatory. Here is a clip of Kennedy on a program entitled Health Freedom for Humanity podcast in September of 2021.
And I think now those days are over. Our job is to resist and to talk about it to everybody. If you're walking down the street, and I do this now myself, which is, I don't want to do, I'm not a busybody. I see somebody on a hiking trail carrying a little baby, and I say to them, better not get them vaccinated. And he heard that from me. If he hears it from 10 other people, maybe he won't do it. maybe he will save that child. And before we were all quiet because we wanted to get along with our families. We just take endless flack. If you talk about this issue, you're scared you're going to get marginalized in your community, that people are going to call you crazy or whatever. But now's the time. Come out of the closet now.
I mean,
I
don't. Maybe he forgot he did that.
And in his testimony, he said that he keeps talking about his children's vaccinations, his flu vaccinations, and that it just started with COVID, which is factually incorrect given like his work over the past decade plus on this front. But I mean, this kind of comes back to some of, what we talked about really within the context of TYT, right? Which is like, I don't really care that much about what's going on in your personal life within the context of like what we're critiquing. We're critiquing what's being put out there into the public. And so even if he was privately vaccinated, or even if he does stuff in his own private life, like that's immaterial to us, at least. I mean, in his instance, when they had those vaccine mandates, I guess that was reported at a party that he threw with his wife, like that highlights the hypocrisy, I guess. But the real thing that we're analyzing here is what you're advocating and what you're putting out there, and then the natural conclusion people draw from that. You don't need to say don't get vaccinated to be an anti-vaxxer. You can just regurgitate public misinformation to the public constantly, and then that is gonna be the thing that we're critiquing.
Yeah, you validate anxieties that have been put there by anti-vaxxers. And yeah, the Ars Technica piece, measles outbreak spurred by anti-vaxxers shuts down government's mode. People should check this article out by Ars Technica.
Right.
Bullprog, to be fair, how many people watched that episode of the Medical News for Liberty-Loving Free Thinkers podcast? I don't know. I don't know how many people watched the...
I mean, there's more people watching that stuff. For all the talk we talk about, censorship and stuff, like there's way more people watching that stuff on YouTube than there is people watching the debunkers by actually qualified people.
Right. If you want to... Yeah. I mean, that's... I think... I'm sorry. I mean, like it's... The issue is, are you doing this in public, right? Like, I mean, that's what he's saying. And
it's chicken shit. Like, honestly, that's the same thing as like, I'm going to use the word targeted, but then back off what that actually means. Like,
right.
It's like, it's chicken shit.
And the public, I mean, the people that are already that deep in the wormhole, they'll know that, oh, he has to come out and say this. That's what they justified it with Trump or with any white supremacist, who they back. They are familiar with the concept of doublespeak to a broader audience, and it's been years and years of conservatives being primed to be okay with that.